Well, it is 9 o'clock now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another 1 Million Cups Westminster. I am Graham Dodds, the Executive Director of the Mid-Atlantic Gigabit Innovation Collaboratory, or MAGIC for short, and we are a proud community sponsor for this program. I also want to point out and thank our coffee sponsor, which, since we're meeting virtually, means that they are offering everyone a 25% discount for any coffee purchased from their website. And that is furnacehillscoffee.com. One of our fellow organizers will post that in the chat channel here in a minute with the discount code, which is 1MC Westminster, to get 25% off your full order from Furnace Hills Coffee. Also, we are joined today by our two presenters, Carl Ladler from Dynamic Dimension Technologies and Mark Masters from Mark Masters Comedy. They will both be receiving, if Mark hasn't already gotten one from doing these before, but our illustrious, coveted 1 Million Cup ceramic mugs for presenting. And for those of you who are joining us for the 5th time in a row, you now qualify for one of our travel mugs. And I think some of you are on your way to earning your t-shirt after 10 consecutive meetings. There, Tamar is showing off her mug, so is Tina. So great to have everyone back this morning. I will now kick it over to our fellow organizer, John Wheatman, who will describe the 1 Million Cups program for anyone who hasn't heard it before. And John, take it away.
All right, good morning, Graham. Thank you. As soon as there we go. I want to be a little balky, but there it is. Well, good morning, and it's always great to see that there's a mix of a few new names here and some regulars here, so we'll get right to it. The mission of 1 Million Cups, particularly in Westminster, is lower the barrier for access to education resources and connections for entrepreneurs. So what exactly does that mean? What it means is without our pillars and core programs set forth by 1 Million Cups, this mission does not get accomplished. So the pillars, to my mind, the most important thing is we are doing presentations, not pitches. It's going to be a little bit less salesy than perhaps we're used to in a networking event. We sometimes use the word vulnerability. It's an excellent chance for entrepreneurs to not only lay out what they're doing, but also lay out where their hurdles are, what their issues are, and what they could need, and areas in which they could need help. It's connections, not networking. The culture is for the community, by the community. Nobody has ownership of 1MC, not the organizers nor anyone else, and nobody should be paid to do 1MC Westminster, and we're not. Radically and intentionally inclusive, which of course means everyone is welcome. The core program, we are here every week, almost, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. We seek to have 2 presenters, and we have so far whenever possible. So here are the rules for presenters: less than 5 years old and willing to ask for help. We always end with the question, what can we do as a community to help you? Organizing team is there, all those faces. And it's time to get started.
Excellent. Thank you very much, John. Of course, that's John Wheatman, attorney at law and co-founder of the Entrepreneur Store here in town. Let's go ahead and let's see, it's 9:04. Okay, Carl, we're going to go ahead and kick it off to you first, and then you'll be followed by Mark Masters, who'll be presenting all the way from Golden, Colorado. Not officially, not Golden, Colorado. I'm just saying Golden, Colorado. Anyway, Carl, go ahead and share your screen. Take it away. Everybody else, please mute while Carl is presenting. And Carl, just remind you, you have 6 minutes for your official presentation, followed by 20 minutes of Q&A. Thank you.
Okay. I am a little bit over 5 years old. I had my 5th birthday a long time ago. So, but I'll, hopefully that's okay. Let me hit, all right. So my company is Dynamic Dimension Technologies. We're a digitally connected virtual environment. Basically, we focus on the-
Oh, Carl, we're not seeing your presentation if that's what you're, I thought you were just introducing yourself, but yes, please share your screen first.
Hold on, okay. It would help if I did that.
All right, start over, do over.
Okay, let me get Okay, is it showing now?
Yes, looks
we can
good.
see
I
the
think you're on
slide.
your second slide, though. If you want to go back and start over.
All right, is that the cover slide?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so my company is Dynamic Dimension Technologies, and we're digitally connected virtual environments is our focus. We are currently working in the area of autonomous systems for testing and integration, working with building high definition virtual environments and virtual twin for autonomy employment. For the company, we're a small business innovative research company. We've kind of gotten our start as doing SBIR projects, and that's where we're currently at, doing the research and development with commercialization as our end goal. We've been, to date, as DDT, we've received 7 SBIR and STTR awards. And we were recently submitted to the NASA Entrepreneurs Challenge, and we're selected in the top 15 to present to a panel of NASA program managers. For a little background, we've got, I've been in the business for well over 30 years in engineering, modeling, simulation, 15 years with the autonomy systems, driverless vehicles. And back in 2006, we were the first, my team and I were the first ones to introduce a physics-based simulation testing environment for driverless vehicles. And you can see in the picture there, we're doing hands-on testing and simulation development, where we're comparing apples to apples in this case, where that picture is actually down in Sykesville, Maryland, which is a police test track down there, which we're allowed to use for testing. We're located in Westminster, Maryland, that's close to DC and the Baltimore metro area. What we're doing today, and our biggest project right now, is working with the Navy to reduce risk with their amphibious operations that are very hazardous. About this past summer, there was an accident with amphibious operations, and one of their AAV vehicles, amphibious vehicles, went down with about 15 on board, 15 sailors and Marines on board, and only half of them survived. So that was a big deal over the summer. What we're doing is working with the Navy to simulate advanced technologies for oceans and surf zone areas, and integrate with some new systems for autonomy. They want to take the humans out of the highest areas of risk, and improve the national capabilities. How we do this, the general autonomy system is, in driverless vehicles, have a observe, decide, orient, and act kind of framework, where sensors provide data in, they process it, and generate behaviors to control the actuators like the steering and acceleration, and the vehicle moves in the world and sensor updates. What we do is we add all the green components, the virtual world. We represent the actuators, the world, terrain, objects, oceans, all of that, and the sensors, and map to the interfaces so that the autonomy system doesn't know if it's running in the real world or running in a virtual world. And some figures of what we've got in capabilities. We're currently working with the Navy in a couple of different locations in Carderock and San Diego, Camp Pendleton, where they're collecting some autonomy data. And we're going to be starting with Panama City next month. And we're also working with the University of Minnesota's on our team, and University of Iowa's on our team, and Carderock's on our team to do the validation to make sure that that are hydrodynamics and motions and wave profiles and water hydro calculations are all accurate. So that we have to provide real world, bridging the gap between the real world and simulation. Transitions, this is something that we can transition this to any autonomous systems being developed and help rapidly develop autonomy systems, especially in extreme environments. Manned, unmanned teaming is a big area of how do you work with these things? And then there's anything in the littoral operations or watercraft launch and recovery for offshore conditions where they want to send unmanned subs down to search and rescue or something like that, and they need support in launching and recovering them.
Carl, you have a 1-minute warning for the presentation. You can go over,
Okay.
but then it'll just cut into your Q&A time.
All right, this is it. We're working with public-private partnerships. We're trying to build up capabilities in this area, and this is where we want to transition to more of the commercial environment. We're working with Magic in the city and state levels, looking at how can we leverage this to integrate unmanned shuttles, unmanned vehicles, and such into different city environments. Utilizing smart digital twin technologies, high definition virtual environments, looking at new capabilities for transfer learning, so that the autonomy systems can be smarter or learn as they go, and you can transfer that from system to system. And for another area is autonomous vehicle certification. So we can use this environment to help the state and people figure out how do you certify. When you go to buy a car, you buy your car and you look at what the safety features are and how they did in their safety test results. You want the same thing from an autonomous vehicle. How safe is it going to be? So finally, I'm here. You can reach me at my cell and my email. And thank you.
Excellent work, Carl. Thank you very much. Great presentation. You can go ahead and unshare your screen. There you go. All right, so let's go right into some of the questions here. Let's see, from Russ, one of our organizers at 1 Million Cups. He's asking, is your simulation physics provided by something out of the box, like a game engine, or is it all homegrown?
It's a combination. Game engines have a challenge of they take a lot of shortcuts, and those shortcuts don't fool computer algorithms. They are good enough for games, for people who get used to them and get used to the play, but if they don't respond correctly to the environment, then it could be a false training. I had a case several years ago where I met with some training organizations, government training organizations in Orlando, and they came over to me after the meeting and said one of their biggest challenges is that they've got they're doing more physical training. They've got the sights and they've got the paint guns and all of that out there. And they said they've had a handful of young recruits that break their legs. And the problem is they go on these training exercises and they're in a building and they'll jump out of the window of the building and land up in 2 stories and break their legs. And it's like, well, why would they do that? Because the games that they had been playing, these shoot up games, they can do that in the games. They can jump from building top to building top and keep going on. But in real life, you have gravity. and you can't necessarily do that. In the games they'll have more strength in their less gravity. Gravity is in the real always correct in the games. So a lot of things happen in the game engines that are not necessarily real. There's a lot of other challenges with the games too. They tend to be focused on a game and not reusable from version to version to version. So you end up rebuilding a lot of your content each time. In the training world, you try to make things uniform so that you can reuse them over and over again as you evolve your software and your frameworks. Games are kind of like creating a movie. Once you created the movie and the set and everything, and you use it for that one scene or one film, then it's done. You can go on to the next and you put your money in, but you take that one piece and you sell it and sell it and sell it.
So it sounds like we need someone to develop exoskeletons, if for no other reason than to close the gap between game physics and real world physics, so that we can jump out of 2-story buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, clap for that. Thank you very much for that answer, Carl. And Tina Thomas from Infinite Love Project asks, how many people are on your team?
I have 5 full-time and 5 part-time. I guess it'd be six full-time if you count myself. I've got engineers, a couple of advanced degree mechanical engineers, and software developers, some with a lot of experience with GUI development and also with GPUs. So we do a lot of our programming on the GPUs also. So we combine the software, the fundamental software with the physics. So I've got a combination of the two working together. Oh, I also have a data scientist on the team too.
I know we're working on trying to develop an internship program with McDaniel students as well, which is exciting.
Yes.
Tamar Osterman from Maryland Economic Development says, great deck. And Dr. Olu from Oral Healthcare Innovations, also a dentist in Mount Airy, asks, is this technology reserved to the military only, or can it be open to civilians?
It can be open to civilians. I'd like to get it out there in the, actually I've got a prototype completed for a cloud-based, so I can run everything on the cloud. Our primary operating system is a Linux-based because we need something, Windows is unreliable, and Linux is more reliable, so we can run in a real time on a Linux base. And we have currently been running some test cases and some prototype in AWS cloud with a Linux-based, what do they call it? The virtual machine, AMI, Amazon Machine Interface is their form of the virtual machine. And it works pretty well. So I'm hoping to start rolling it out to make it available to more of the public. And I am actually looking for beta testers. And that's kind of where where I start working with the Panama City, the Navy down in Panama City. They're going to be doing some beta testing for me.
So you sort of answered this question as well, but Tamar Osterman also asks, can you elaborate a bit on your plans for a commercial strategy? And maybe you could also discuss then how this does play out in commercial vehicles, like with what we're doing with Magic and the autonomous corridor, perhaps.
Okay. So for a commercial strategy, right now I'm kind of focused on leveraging this with what we're doing with the City of Westminster, looking to build a virtual environment to help integrate autonomy shuttle systems. Shuttles seem to be the most advanced public capabilities going right now. So there are some with like the mining industry and farming industry, but those aren't dealing in areas where other people, pedestrians are. Shuttles are where pedestrians will be. So looking at this in the a way to work within cities and states and communities to help integrate and prepare them from for these advanced driverless vehicles and shuttle systems to be implemented in the environment. The simulation software as a whole, we have competitors out there. A lot of them use game engines, and they can take stuff so far. There's just a recent survey conducted by Carnegie Mellon that I was reading through the other day that listed a lot of the problems of fully implementing the simulations into the development and testing of autonomy systems. And basically, they weren't, those simulations that were out there aren't able to fully integrate. They don't have a lot of the cloud capabilities. They don't have a lot of the automated testing. They don't have an ability to run headless, where you don't have a user interface. You just set up as a batch and walk away from it, and it automatically runs. Those are things that back in 2006 we designed and developed, and that's a core part of our technology that we're doing right now. We redeveloped all that in this first phase to because that's a big area that we saw as missing. And that's a key that also, as we transition with the cities and states and look at implementing these things, if we're more of the independent tester of these pieces, like the safety testing organizations for cars, then having the ability to set up these things and run them, you want a repeatability, and you want to have a statistical measures in there. So in some cases, you want to just repeat the same deterministic simulation environment so that you can see if something fails, is it going to fail repeatedly at that same time? And then the developers you can push it back to the company and say, you missed this. And then if it isn't repeatable at that, you can run it through a number of scenarios with minor changes and see how it performs in there. So.
And we have a question here from Russ from our organizing team. He asks, is there any integration with other autonomous driving companies such as Tesla? It seems that sharing this would allow for a more resilient product, albeit one where no one company's name would be on the final product, which I guess would be software at this point.
I'd like to get involved with the Teslas and the Waymos and I actually know the guys that run Argo AI out of Pittsburgh. They used to be users of my old products, when they worked at Carnegie Mellon. But the interfaces I've got are ROS. So the robotics operating system is a standard, and we've been developing this interface. The Navy wanted us to use that because they're using it for a lot of their interfaces. The community seems to be picking ROS up very quickly. So it makes it very easy if the company that's doing the development is using that interface. Now, a lot of companies that we work with, robotics research, land sea air autonomy, there's a handful of others around too. They've been around long before ROS. So ROS is something that's grown in the past maybe 10 years. If you go back past that, a lot of these companies, the Tesla and the Waymo and the Zoox and Argo and all of those, Uber even, they were kind of in and developing before ROS came about and got popular. So we don't really know yet. I've looked and I haven't gotten contacts with them. but I don't know if they're actually using the standard interfaces or if they've got their own proprietary interfaces.
So is ROS like the Linux to the Tesla's Mac OS, so to speak?
It's
Or Windows?
it's really it's not necessarily an operating system, so it's not like a Linux level. It's more of a messaging format, so that sensors and all the systems, like the lidar, the cameras, you got your little sonar and other systems on the vehicle, the wheel encoders, the driving commands, the acceleration, steering, all of that stuff uh, have defined interfaces so that they can talk to each other in the computer, so the computers can basically plug and play any of them. So if you've got a Sony camera and you want to switch to a Kodak camera, or another Carnegie camera or some other camera, you can easily switch those out and not worry about your interfaces, because if they all use the same interface, then you're able to stream the data in fairly easily.
Wow, that seems like it has other really interesting applications as well.
Kind of gets to the Internet of Things.
Yeah. So we have a few minutes left, and before I ask you the big, what can our community do for you question, I just want to touch on a little bit about your background and why you are in Westminster. Can you speak to the fact that, what brought you here in terms of, where, being connected to General Dynamics, and then, of course, your selection of the Main Street gigabit fiber? I'm just curious to hear your perspective on that, because you're like a prime example in terms of economic development in our tech-driven plan to bring more technology companies to Westminster.
I originally came to Westminster about 15 years ago. I was a General Dynamics employee, and they bounced me around from Northern Virginia to Maine, back to Northern Virginia, and then had an opportunity to join, to come over here and lead the simulation team for General Dynamics robotic systems for a big Army project in the 2006 timeframe. So that's what originally brought me here. In those days, we looked around Sykesville and Baltimore and everywhere else. My wife's family is from Bel Air, Maryland. So this was a much nicer, we liked the schools, we liked the feel of the town, easy commute into Baltimore and everything. So we just kind of decided, schools and everything here was really nice. So we settled here. When I ended up starting my business and deciding, all right, after working, I left GD, I worked for another small business, and I opened an office here on Main Street. And I like the Main Street area because I like to get out and walk around at lunchtime and go to different places for lunch. And it's nice to not have to get in a car and drive. When we had offices over by the airport, there's no place to walk to. Yet if you wanted to leave, you got in your car and you drove. Not much for exercise. But since we've been here the last year and a half in downtown, what we've seen is we love the fiber optic, the Ting fiber optic with the gigabit up and down. We find that we're actually stressing that level with running in the cloud. So that's going to be an area that we'll probably need to investigate with Ting soon.
We can help you, Carl.
Hey, Mark,
sure.
Mark, can you unshare just for a minute before we're almost done here? Your screen's being shared right now. So what can we do as a community to help you, Carl? You have like a minute.
All right. Share the information, I guess. That's a hard question. I'm so busy these days that I don't get enough time to think about what can help me. looking at different ways, sharing ideas. I like input, contacts, new ideas, collaboration. Just being here is really helping me. When I watch these other presentations and get ideas. That's,
Excellent.
I don't know if that's the answer.
No, that's
Good answer.
definitely, no, and that's what we're here for. So good.